Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to show you an inside look at the new Spinnin Records Psytrance sample pack, out now on Splice. Here's a track I made using only sounds from the pack. Psytrance is all about dark, bouncy bass lines mixed with big trance lead sounds. It also has really punchy, modern sounding kick drums that power the rhythm of the track. It's usually at a faster tempo than house music, so an average tempo for Psytrance would be around 138 BPM, which I have for this track right here, but sometimes you can find songs that are even faster than that. So a big characteristic of this genre are triplet bass lines, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If we look at the grid right here, this is one beat of the track right here, and it's usually split up by 4 16th notes. 1 here, 2, 3, 4. But if we wanted to create a triplet bass line rhythm, we would change that grid to 12th notes. So I can go up here and change the grid size, and now in one beat we actually just have 3 notes. So 1, 2, 3. Now here's an example of a bass line playing 16th notes on the 16th note grid. And here's an example of the bass line playing 12th notes, so it's a triplet bass line. It gives a lot of Psytrance sounds that really groovy, bouncy feel. So I started this whole track around this bass loop that I just really drag and dropped from the bass loops folder. Then to add an interesting layer to that, I dragged in this vocal loop, but I cut it up. So here's the original vocal loop. Then here's what it sounded like after I cut it up. And then just to make it a little more interesting, I'm automating the reverb here, so the reverb increases at the end of every 4 bars. Because Psytrance is at such a fast tempo, it's really important that everything is at the exact same rhythm. So since I've chosen the triplet bass line in this track, everything has to be at that triplet rhythm. So even the percussion I've used, everything is right on grid with that rhythm. So I just snapped those 2 hi-hat sounds from the pack onto this triplet rhythm to really keep that high end going. And if you ever want to know what sound I use from the pack, you can just look on the audio file or folder right here. Then at the end of every 4 bars, I have this synth fill right here. And I actually just got that from another loop from the pack. Here's what the original loop sounded like. But I just used that last bar of that loop just to keep things interesting because it sounded nice layered with the other sounds. So in the second half of the drop, you can hear me bring that big trance lead back in. This lead sound is just from one of the loops folders in the pack. So if I just drag this down here, I can show you the full loop. Here's what it originally sounded like. What I did here is go through and cut out all the little space in between each note just to make the whole thing sound really tight and make it sound cohesive with the rest of my track, just so no empty space was in between those notes. And then from there, I added some EQ I added a little bit of delay to fill those gaps that I created. And then I have some external reverb on there as well. Then a really important thing in Psytrance tracks is the sidechain. So for the sidechain on this track, on the bass and on the lead sound and on all the other sounds, I have this really intense sidechain right here at 100% mix. By putting the mix at 100%, it just makes the whole track sound really tight and bouncy. During the build-up back at the beginning of the track, I have that same trance lead right here. You can hear I'm just adding reverb to it and filtering it out throughout the build-up. I'm also filtering in that vocal loop so you can hear it throughout the build-up as well. For the snare build, all I did was open a new sampler instrument in Logic, and I just dragged in all of the snares from the pack. And what that allows me to do is just play them all on my keyboard so I can test them all out. Then once I found the snare sound that I wanted, I drew in that triplet rhythm right here. You can see it's once every 12th note. And I'm just opening that up with a filter right here. Then I'm increasing this pitch bend right here just to make it go up in pitch at the end of the build. Then we've got some fills at the end here just to increase the tension and keep things interesting. So I think that's pretty much it for explaining all the sounds I used in this track. So you can dive into the pack on Splice and check out what else it has to offer. It's really great for making those dark, bouncy Psytrance bass lines and those big Psytrance leads. I hope you have a lot of fun messing around with the sounds in this pack.